Welcome back to the podcast. I have former Alaska teacher turned Colorado big game hunting guide, Adam Krick. He's the co-host of Tongass Talk. Thanks for being on here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We were just talking off air about technology, and you thought I was going to Zoom link, which is how I've had you on previously, and then you guys use Squadcast for your podcast. And I hadn't updated the fact that I usually call or record through phone. It's just, it's kind of funny how things kind of evolve as you get deeper into this thing.
Yeah, and we've had some internet connection issues with ours, but I don't know if you could do a three-way call using what you use.
It's true. I don't think I only got one input. I think you can buy a different unit that has more inputs. But yeah, kind of different. Have you been on a podcast where you just know that the sound is bad, or it's cutting out, or the connection's bad, and you're just like, gosh, dang it?
Yeah. Usually it's ours, and because Ian has bad internet, and then usually we're up with somebody else up there, and it's like, oh man, this is terrible.
Yeah,
but
that sound quality is so important. You just got to have that. You can have good content. I had someone left a review on Apple Podcasts saying that content was great, but the sound was terrible, and left me like, I don't know if it was like a 2-star or 5-star. I was like, gosh dang, I got to fix this. So I upgraded the recording stuff, and that makes it better. But man, it's kind of a sinking feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just don't know how much. You don't really realize it till you go and post it and then listen to it, and you're like, oh. Whoops.
Yeah, but, stupid things like echoes. But that's the thing with everything, like, it doesn't matter if you're teaching or anything. I was telling my 6th-hour class, I think yesterday, story about, or maybe 2 days ago, whatever, about my first year of teaching, my first day of teaching, and just what am I doing here? Because I didn't take any, I didn't do any student teaching. So my first day was my first day, and it was yeah, you just don't even know what to do. And like people beforehand were like, well, do you have any questions? I was like, I don't even know what to ask yet. I got to go through this first day and figure it out. And so that was a rough first week, but, just kind of stick with it and figure it out. It's, whether podcasting or guiding, teaching, whatever, you just got to get through those first bad things, and then the next bad things won't be as bad.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to learn, I think it'll happen. And that's the biggest part.
Yeah. So a pretty good segue into big game guiding. How did that kind of come into play, and then how were those first times that you were out there?
So last year I worked with a lady they run an outfitting business called Lobo Outfitters out of Pagosa Springs here, and they needed some guides. They had some extra hunters come in one week that they had kind of not accounted for, and they needed a guide for one of those weekends to kind of fill in and try to, fill a tag with one hunter. And, I said, well, yeah, I've hunted and would enjoy going down and checking it out. And so last year I went down on 3 weekends and would guide just for the weekend, just take one hunter and guide elk hunting with them. And then teaching last year was pretty frustrating for me. Just with all the circumstances that everyone was going through, and I just didn't want to deal with, the masks and, all the virtual learning and enforcing all that kind of stuff. And it just felt like it was kind of going against my core belief, a lot of it. And so I decided to take a break and asked, Mike, the owner, if he needed help guiding this year. And he did, and I did some work for him this summer. I did some remodeling on some trailers and things like that, and then ended up working full time this fall with them. I did some sheep hunts, which was pretty cool. I was more of the packer on those trips, where you're there just to pack out the animal, not really your expertise, because I didn't have any. Which is great, because I learned a ton on that too, and we use horses and those type of things that I hadn't much experience with. And then September and October, I was guiding. We had 6 hunts in those 2 months, and I guided on 5 of those. And then we had a couple more in Colorado, and I guided one of those hunts. And when I wasn't guiding, I had, my own tag. And so that's why I asked if I could have those weeks off to go try to kill something myself. But so it was a great fall, and just kind of was who and just making those connections, and just it's kind of how you carry yourself wherever you are. You're going to make connections that'll pan out. I was teaching, but it kind of led to this, which is it wasn't expected at all for me.
Yeah. People talk about guiding being just like teaching. When people have said, "Hey, Lund, you should guide," like, no, absolutely not. And then when they say, "Oh, it's just like teaching," I say, no, it's absolutely not. Am I wrong, or are there certain things are there certain similarities where you are teaching, and I guess teaching a kid English stuff or journalism stuff, you are teaching someone how to fish or how to hunt, but it's totally different type of teaching. Like, are there any similarities or anything that you learned from the teaching career that's kind of carried over to guiding?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely similarities in that you're dealing with people. You know what I mean? You're managing people in a way. It's different because they're adults, and a lot of them are older than me, and so they have prior experiences, and so you're trying to kind of get a relationship with them as quick as you can. That's going to make for a fun and successful week. And you're trying to read their personality and what they're capable of, just like you would with teaching. You don't put everyone, doing the most advanced stuff the first day on whatever unit you're on.
Day one, sink or swim. Let's do this. We doing this, kids?
Yeah.
This is how I learned how to teach. This is how you're going to learn how to learn.
Yeah, that's true. I've tried that too.
It doesn't work.
But no, it doesn't. So it's almost like almost every comment I get is, "God, you walk fast," or "God, we walked forever today," or things like that. And so I'm like constantly trying to gauge like pace and where we're going, and that's like the biggest thing that I feel like I've felt people are like saying, and so, but I mean, you're just trying to figure out these people, and you want to build that relationship with them and make sure that they're enjoying their time. Because, I mean, think about your hunting experiences. Like, personally, they're my favorite times ever, and I'm sure you feel similar. Yeah. And so you want them to be feeling that same way and just having those really vivid, experiences out in the woods. And so I try, you're trying to do that. Obviously there's a safety component where they're carrying a gun and you're not, and you got to have some initial trust, which with teaching you have to trust the kids, and you have to build that trust. And so there are some similarities, a little bit different things at stake, but yeah
there are. I think in just the way you treat people, I think there are some low level commonalities, but then which is, that makes a lot of sense. People also talk about, like, if they love to fish, then being a guide is a natural thing because you get to fish all day. And to that, I also say, no, you're not fishing at all. Like, you are not. It's against the rules to fish. You are watching someone else. However, people do talk about how rewarding it is when you can help someone feel that, and it makes everything new for them. Is hunting and guiding kind of the same thing, or are they two totally different things that you can enjoy equally?
I think the first weekend I went down last year, there was a guy. He's a really good guy. He has his own outfitting business, but he helps Lobo once in a while. And he said, "Well, do you like hunting?" And I said, "Yeah, I love it. It's, my favorite thing to do." And he goes, "Well, you probably shouldn't be a guide because you never have time to hunt for yourself." And so that kind of struck me. And then this year I was able to kind of be real upfront and flexible with guiding when I wanted, or like fitting in my hunts, which I don't know if that's always the case. But again, the rewards of like getting somebody an elk or a deer is really fun. It's almost as good as killing one yourself. It really is, and that sounds probably kind of weird, but there is a lot of reward in that. Because you helped them and you were with them and you experienced it with them, and I don't know, there is a lot of good. I don't know. There's a lot of reward in that as well.
Yeah. I guess people, again, to use comparisons, people talk about coaching being that same sort of rewarding experience when you get the kids to buy in and they're successful. It's about someone else and you helped someone else and you felt that purpose. It's not just about I made this shot or I scored these points in adult league. It's we got these kids to buy in, and that's a pretty sweet feeling for sure. Yeah,
and I've coached and I would definitely say that for me, like winning as a player felt a lot more rewarding for some reason than as a coach. Like I would have much rather won a state championship as a player than when we won it, when I was coaching.
Yeah. Were you the head coach of that, or were you assistant?
No, I was assistant.
Oh, that's exactly why right there.
Maybe if I was the head guy, it would have felt better. But it just wasn't the same. I was like, well, I'd rather be a player, but
yeah,
still cool.
Yeah, I think part of that too is I haven't won state in anything, but like taking advantage of that youth and the opportunities that you had. Like as a coach, maybe some of you is trying to help kids learn from the mistakes or your own shortcomings when you were a kid. I'm trying to teach you this because this is what I didn't do, and this is why my team didn't win. So don't do that. So I think it would be nice to be able to look back at a memory and think, man, look, we did it. We did the sacrifice. We're not those we're not those adults who look back at when we were kids thinking, oh, if I knew then what I know now. We're that rare group of people who actually puts it together and makes it happen.
Right.
But then, of course, you don't want to live back in the past and think, gosh, man, if we would have won state my junior year, my life wouldn't suck. You don't want to be one of those. But,
No, you don't want to be one of those guys.
No.
But yeah, you try to, apply your past to their future to make it, better or improved on based on your experiences.
So what about the hunting? If we're going to do a whole bunch of comparisons, I guess here, what about hunting in Alaska prepared you for hunting down there?
I think just the mental toughness of hunting in Alaska is far greater than it is here from what I've experienced. Just the weather is a huge factor up there, and just the terrain is tough, at least where we were in Southeast and kind of some of the type of hunting we did. Like here, I don't even think about when I wake up, I assume it's going to be sunny. Like it's just the weirdest, like it almost feels like I'm not living a tough enough life. I'm like, well, why isn't it going to be crappy weather this week? Or, so, I think the mental toughness and just the kind of the grit of you got to keep going, and it's going to be tough, but you just keep going. So that's prepared me.
It's so tempting, or maybe it's not tempting. It's something to be able to be on the road system and hunt in Wyoming with Abby and being able to, as soon as the elk archery season was over, then you just drive to a different unit, which is, a couple miles away in some cases, for the opener of rifle mule deer or something. It's so nice to just have that accessibility. You're not looking at the weather and you're thinking, oh man, it's going to be sunny, but it's going to be blowing southeast 25. So can we even take the boat to the spot to then maybe hike up? And then is it going to be nice enough for long enough to where you can get up the mountain and be able to see anything?
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
Yeah. There's a lot more logistics for where we were than what it is down here. I mean, you hop in your car and you drive and you hike in and you camp or whatever and you hunt and then you hike out and you drive home. There's no if a road closes, you go around and you get a different road. You know what I mean? And It's not like you can't hike out. I mean, I got snowed on during archery elk, but it wasn't like this life and death sort of thing, Yeah. It got sunny the next day and it melted, and it's just so much more mild as far as the weather goes.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of people down there too, and up here in certain areas, you have to deal with people, or you have this great plan of taking the boat 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour, whatever, just to try to get away from people, because that's step one. If you get off the road system, because that's going to separate you from a lot of hunters. But, what if someone is in that cove, and what if the wind is blowing out of the north? So it means anything on the south could be open to you, so you get down there and there's someone else. Have you had people in the spots that you wanted to hunt down there? And then how is that reaction to your plan not working out because someone's there compared to being up here when someone is in the spot that you wanted to go to?
Yeah, I mean, especially during archery elk, like they don't have a limit here. It's over the counter. There's a ton of over the counter units down here. And so I ran into several groups where I was 4 miles in, backpacked in, trying to get away from people. And I ran into, people have horses and mules and that sort of thing. And so that can get them in farther, and it's like a plane, like up in the interior, you hike into sheep hunt, and then you have a plane that drops off a guy, right there. And so it's kind of the same idea, but, you just have to what I did was just talk with those guys and be like, hey, I've scouted here. I have cameras up here. This is kind of my plan. I led with my plan so that hopefully that would trump whatever they had planned. Mm-hmm. It seems like kind of whoever speaks first usually gets the priority in my experience. But, just communicating with them and not trying to be, a jerk about it.
Yeah.
Versus in Alaska, I rarely ran into people, deer hunting or goat hunting or, any of that. We would go and, you'd hike around and you might hear a gunshot somewhere, but it's within that big oak bay or whatever. And, I think I saw one guy one time that I didn't know. And we just kind of waved at each other and pointed and went the ways that we pointed. And that was that.
Yeah. I'm way more worried about it than I probably should be, because the amount of times that it's actually happened has been very, very low. But on Wednesday, when I kind of get the plan in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is what we're going to do. Oh my gosh. What if someone else is there? I was actually worried about where I wanted to take Abby for a nice blacktail alpine trip. I started worrying about that in like May. It was ridiculous to you think about, well,
Yeah.
we're going to take the boat here and hopefully no one's there. And she said, well, what if someone is? I'm like, I haven't even thought about that yet. I'm so worried about someone being anchored where we want to anchor. And then there was a ridge, and some areas you can just kind of get to the spot and you can go left or right. So if you see someone, you can, like you said, like do the point, hey, we're going to go this way, or hey, you're already here, so we're just going to go the other direction. But you access this from a ridge, and so you would have to like walk past someone's camp in order to get to the spot. And so that really had me worried because, man, you do all this work to get out there, and to get to the spot we wanted to camp. We would hike up this road, and you know, what if you get all the way up there 5 miles in, and then someone's there? Like, oh gosh, of course, no one was there, but I worried about it for sure.
Yeah, that was a worry of mine too. You know, because we went in 3 weeks early and did cameras, and it was all pumped up. And then we, you know, get in there and we see, you know, 20 trucks at the trailhead, and I'm like, oh man, you know, it's like we're back to the lower 48.
Yeah.
You know, and you get in far enough and you do your thing, and you know, we did run into some guys that, you know, were trying to call us in. Which was
weird.
Like, dude, like, come on. And then, like, you know, luckily we had gotten up earlier than them and had already, you know, had our encounter with this really nice bull. And then they, as we're finished, you know, it didn't happen, but then they like come up and bugle, and then it's like, all right, well, the morning's pretty much over. So you just work hard and you do what you can, and you know, you have to realize that that's going to happen, and those people are also advocates for hunting, which you have to appreciate, because they're, you know, going to be speaking up for hunting and voting with hunting and wanting to preserve land, and you know, they care about the resource too. And so, but in the moment you're like, gosh dang it, get out of here, you know, because you want the most pristine, purest you and the animal, and that's it. That's all you want, but that's not always the case.
Abby and I looked twice into a way to hunt an area that was pretty close to a high traffic spot. It wasn't that far from a big old campsite, right next to the boundary between two units. And we just happened to be kind of walking, or we were driving, and then we saw 2 cow elk. I think this was 2 years ago, maybe 3. And we were just going to drive by. We had no intention of stopping at this spot because one spot was just way too obvious. Massive greenery and then a massive campsite. And so we figured, no way, we got to get past this. We're going to go off, you know, on a different spur, off a different spur, and just try to get as far as her little Toyota Corolla could take us, which was not very far. But, and so we happened to see these cow elk, and all of a sudden, you know, we camped in that area, and then happened to see some sign and stuff, and thought, man, like, is this like one of those nice overlooked spots? Because this is pretty nice. And we put up some game cameras this last summer and got some huge bulls on this thing. And there was a pretty obvious smaller area, and there was a really small spot too. And so you have this huge area that is super obvious next to the campsite. And then you have this other one that's a pretty obvious one that you're looking for that little, you know, tucked away sort of. It's off the road a little bit, but maybe hiding in plain sight. And so people who are looking for the overlooked thing are going to look for that. But then we stumbled upon this other small little wallow that was like the overlooked area. And that's where we saw some big bulls, and that's where Abby set up and called one in, but couldn't draw.
Oh, geez.
There's such a difference between, and it's made me more confident going to certain areas, because just because someone is there doesn't mean they're hunting it right, or doesn't mean they're going to the exact same spot. And like putting up those cameras and then knowing and seeing the terrain like in person, not just e-scouting, that's such a big difference. Have you found the same thing, that you're not as worried about certain people because you don't think they're going to hunt it right?
Yeah, maybe not as far as hunting it right, but not willing to hike or go up a certain valley or go up a mountain. Like, I feel like that is not a limiting thing for me, is hiking, or like I will willingly out hike somebody to get somewhere that I think is going to be good. And so I think a lot of people they're looking for a little bit easier sort of hunt. And so that's what I think is an advantage. Also, I think people stay to the trails, and, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of overlooked stuff, and there's a lot of people that won't hike in very far, or, things like that. And I'm not an expert hunter. And so for me, it's, am I going to work hard enough to get some opportunities at this point in my life, as far as hunting goes? And that's kind of what's going to get me somewhere versus knowing exactly what to do in every situation.
Yeah, that's what I found that in last year when we were mule deer hunting, and we both got one. It was on like day 5, and we were out there just dark to dark. But by day 2, not seeing anything, you start to get tempted to think, hey, well, we gave it a good shot. Let's just sleep in a little bit. But you got to do this right, and to do it right is you got to be from out there from dark to dark. You got to put in the miles. You got to glass. You have to do these things. Otherwise, you're not going to put yourself in a position to be successful. And what's that quote? The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah. Yep.
That's just what it requires to be successful. That's what you have to do. And if you do want to go out and you just want to have fun and camp with some friends, and if you get lucky, you get lucky. But deer camp for a lot of people is just about getting away. It's not necessarily about getting an animal. So if you want to have a camping trip with camo and guns or archery, that's totally fine. Great. But if you want to be successful, then you do what it takes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you see all those big time hunters, I guarantee they're hunting harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's just how you get better.
Yeah. Then it becomes easier because that's kind of what you're used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're getting more opportunities and encounters with animals, and so you're learning that much more, about each hunt. And that's what's nice with guiding, is that I got so many encounters with elk this year because of guiding, that it's just, I was learning. I equivalated it to this one season, probably 3 years of public land archery hunting, with the amount of encounters you get each week, which is kind of cool. You get a lot better you learn a lot during those weeks. So,
yeah. So how did your season go? You got a nice whitetail on Tuesday. Is that right? Is that Tuesday or Monday?
What's today?
Today's Thursday.
What is
I think
Thursday? Tuesday night. Yep. Got a little, he's an 11-point technically, because he has split brow tines on one, and then he has 3 on the other side. So he's like an 8-point frame. Nice. As we're going by Midwest counting.
The down south counts, yeah.
Right. And then I shot a fork with my bow in Nebraska early November. That was my first, archery kill, which was pretty cool. A whitetail. And then I got a mule deer, a 4x3, kind of a thinner horned, with my rifle in Colorado. And then I got a doe last week as well. You could get 2 does and a buck in Oklahoma. And we could have killed a lot of does, but I was like, I killed a doe the first night, and I was like, all right, now I'm going to go for a buck. And then, because we already had 2 deer here, and I didn't need to get a third. I didn't think so. It was a good season. I didn't get anything archery elk. Had some good encounters, with some really nice bulls. Got within, 47 yards of a nice 6x6 that stood broadside for 40 seconds probably, and I had my recurve, and I was not happy. And then, had another one at 50 yards, but probably couldn't have got a shot on him. And then had another 6x6. We had him at 25 yards, but it was thick timber. You just couldn't get a shot because it was so thick. And saw some cows, and nothing too close with that. But after that hunt, I bought a compound last summer at an estate sale in Wyoming, and I went and bought arrows, and I got all set up, and like I'm not doing that again. So I think elk I'll go with the compound next year, and then probably try to do a recurve for the whitetail. But I wish I had my compound, but who knows, right? I could have missed. Yeah. But.
So it seems like the morning is the really time, the great time to make a move for blacktail up here. I mean, actually, really any part of the day, but the morning is really when it's good. But down there, it seems like evening for whitetail is definitely the time. Because so many of the pictures, and elk too, where so many people are. By the time they track down what they killed, it's already dark, and it's just like in this last half hour of daylight. The last minutes of shooting light is when things tend to come out. Have you seen that that's kind of the case, that it's definitely the evening?
For whitetail, yeah. I mean, it seemed like, that buck I shot Tuesday was like, it had to be like within minutes of legal shooting light. And there were does out that came out, like 30 minutes early. And I was like, all right, trying to find the buck. And finally I see him across, the way, and I was like, oh man, that's a far shot. And, it was getting really close to dark, and I actually missed my first shot, and they spooked him out into the meadow so I could see him better. And, there takes some luck, but yeah, evening seemed to be really good with the whitetail, although I shot that one with my bow in the morning. But that was more during the rut, and so they're going to be moving more, the bucks. And then, with elk, the morning seemed to be more active as far as like bugling, because where I was, it was like they would wait till it was dark in the evenings and then start bugling. And so they were almost moving to this nocturnal kind of pattern, although, it was a full moon that week. So the moon was tough too, and so I don't know how much that played a role in that. But yeah, I think they just kind of wait. You think about it, right at last light, the woods come alive, and you just start seeing all sorts of stuff. But yeah,
I had that my first welcoming to elk hunting 2 years ago when we were camping and we heard bugles at night, and there's no way I'm going to sleep. This is too unbelievable to have these things. And then this last year, nothing. Abby was hearing them during the day, and then had encounters during the day. But then by the time I got down there, it was the last week of September, so the last week of archery. I just figured they'd been pushed around so much that it was pretty much over, and they had just gone silent. There wasn't even anything at night. We'd see fresh sign during the day. But we were just nothing, and it was crazy. We even had a weather change in there too. People talk about what you need is a good snow and a weather change. Like, we had that and still weren't seeing anything. It was just crazy and frustrating. The only thing we heard at night was we ended up camping in that little campsite, and there's no one else there, of course. And hear like this raking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right there. And it's 2 a.m. or whatever it was. And then it was pretty obvious after a couple of rakes that it wasn't an elk, it was a moose. Wow. I thought, oh man, this is awesome. There's a moose raking right outside the tent out in this opening, because we were in this last little cluster of trees before the big old meadow opened up. And then to the right of us, kind of by the road by where we came in and where the car was parked, we hear more raking. And thought, oh, this is interesting. And so we start hearing the oof, and no. And the biggest opening between where the one on the left was and the one on the right was right in front of our tent. So they were like converging, and they were raking as they were getting closer and closer. And it went from super exciting to pretty terrifying pretty quick. And then all of a sudden you hear like thump, 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 and then just hit antlers. And then heard this, the one that was to our left was the weaker of the two, it sounded like, because he was getting pushed and like the back hooves just felt like they were sliding closer and closer to the tent. And
Oh yeah.
oh my gosh, it was terrifying. We were at for a second, you're not thinking. We sat up and should we make a run for it? Should we need to get to the car? Abby couldn't find the keys, and we thought, no, that's crazy because if we like run, then all of a sudden they think there's another bull. Like that could be the worst thing. So we just kind of
Right.
just went up against the far side of the tent, hoped they didn't get pushed into us, but it was something. But didn't hear one elk, but we had that moose sparring experience. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah. I had a similar experience with elk like 5 years before we moved to Alaska. Same thing, like 2 a.m, these elk are bugling, they're slowly getting closer, and then they're like fighting right outside the tent. And I'm like, are we going to die? Like, and then part of me's like, God, we should just get out with our headlamp, put it on bright and shoot one,
Yeah.
Of course that's not legal, but like all these thoughts go in your mind, but
Yeah.
you could just feel the power. Like, and you're like, holy cow. Like if this thing, it would, trample you or kill you and they wouldn't even know. Like it's so occupied with fighting, but yeah.
Yeah. There was part of it that wanted to unzip and shine a light and just videotape it. But then that's how, you're so busy trying to film this thing that all of a sudden, you get run over.
You're right.
It's funny when you get woken up at that hour, just the weird things that come into your head about making a run for it or, in self-defense or, whatever. It's pretty crazy. But, those experiences, those are the types of things to get all sappy that, when people talk about going outside and have these experiences, like that is, it's never going to happen again, probably. And you got to have that, and it's a real experience, and you didn't watch some cool video on an Instagram reel or on TikTok, like you were there and you saw it firsthand and you felt the excitement and the nervousness and the scaredness. It's just, man, it just gets you out there.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. I mean, that's the National Geographic stuff right there.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, are you done with hunting? Is most of the stuff closed down at this point, or it seems like a lot of states have kind of winter seasons, or some of the seasons even go into January. So, what do you got for hunts coming up?
So we're done guiding. We finished 2 weeks ago, maybe. And so, I'm gonna, find some other thing to do, painting or. I don't know. I have a paint job lined up, but and I might do some mountain lion guiding with them a little bit too. But then there's muzzleloader that opened yesterday. Is today the first?
Today's second.
So opened this first in Nebraska, and so my dad and I think are going to go out maybe Monday for a few days and see if we can get a whitetail with the muzzleloader. I've never gotten one with a muzzleloader, never even shot a muzzleloader.
Nice.
So that season goes, I think, a couple weeks. So that'll be kind of the end of my hunting stuff for this year. And then maybe do some fly fishing. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that.
There's some good winter fly fishing.
That's a big part of your program too. So what? Obviously, it's super cold, but you got stuff that's open year round, and you go in size 26 midges somewhere.
No, probably not. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't done a ton of river fishing yet around here. I did a little bit last year, so I think I'll probably explore some of the rivers. There's one that runs through town here, and then there's some other ones that are real close. There's a tailwater in New Mexico that I want to go check out too. That comes out of Navajo Reservoir, and so probably head down there and try that for a day or something too.
Nice.
But stay busy for sure. There's plenty to do.
Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely. Again, that road system thing makes it huge.
Yeah. Yep.
Do they have river closures up there? I know in California there was a lot of rivers that closed down. Some of them were because there was like a very small remnant of a king run, And so they would close the rivers down so you could have, like, it was very illegal to catch a king, and there was hardly any around. There's just kind of rumors, and every once in a while you'd see one. But they closed the rivers down so people weren't trampling on the reds. And some other ones would just close. So do you have any sort of closures in any of these spots?
Not in Colorado. Not that I know of.
Obviously, there wouldn't be any king action there.
No, there's like kokanee that there are some special regulations around kokanee. There's a kokanee run up near Gunnison. And I think, I'm not sure how that works, but there would be some section closed, or, there's some sections of rivers that are closed, like, within so close to the dam or whatever, of a tailwater is usually, there's some, but no, it's open. Everything should be open. And so, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit and get back time flies and, planning some summer stuff. I got a big list of lakes for the summer again, which is always a thing. Are you guys going to come back down, or? That's what I was like. Oh, Jeff might not be down here this summer.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad.
I don't think we're gonna. Abby's gonna come down there in late February, early March for her defending of her PhD. I think we're gonna be up here. Hopefully, she'll get a job and be around for the summer. If she gets something on Prince of Wales, then we'll just go over there, stay at Mom's place, and just it'll be sweet. She'll work and I'll play. If she gets something here in Ketchikan, probably same thing. But I think we're just going to look for. Ideally, she'll be employed, so we'll be up here, and then I don't know, just it's looking at doing something. We're gonna build. We're gonna buy. Just kind of. To do that, so saving up. But I bought Mule Deer Point, Elk Point, so hopefully next year.
For Wyoming.
Yeah. Which is kind of what we know, and we've done some research and had some success there. So, I would hate for that to not be part of it. And it's so different, but it is so fun. Chasing mule deer is way different than blacktail, but it's just fun in its own right. And again, you see an area enough, and you've seen enough bucks, you just think that you can be successful, and you're not just going in blind, like you're putting in, and you finally get to however many points, you draw something, and then you're at square one when you show up. So I think we have an advantage for some of these areas, and some low point areas too that you don't need a lot of points. So maybe in a year or two I can draw an elk and just figure something out. So maybe in the fall, but probably be Wyoming-less for this year.
Yeah, dang. It's kind of a bummer, but makes sense.
Yeah, dude, things go so fast, man. Everything is just like next hunting season. Before you know it, it's 2030 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it goes quick, and it's all fun. But you're always looking forward to next year.
Yeah. Have you gotten into? I mean, you hunted Oklahoma, and you hunted Nebraska, and you hunted Wyoming, Colorado, and like, how many states did you hunt this last year?
Just 3: Colorado, Oklahoma, Nebraska. And Oklahoma was pretty like last minute, because some clients, they have some 300 acres that they whitetail hunt, and they invited us down, and we're like, if you invite me, I'm going to come. That's what I told him. It's like, well, come on down. I'm like, all right. And so we drove down. It was about a 10-hour drive, and it was awesome. I mean, really cool. So, and he's like, well, you guys are welcome back anytime. We'd like to make this kind of a yearly thing if you want to come down, and so that was a great connection and really good people. So, but that was not foreseen. I was expecting to, maybe hunt Nebraska again, and that's it. So
that's awesome. Are you one of those people who's putting in for a whole bunch of states now? Do you have is it Go Hunt Insider, and you got $1,000 worth of points in every Western state accumulating?
No, I just have Colorado stuff. My secret plan is to move back to Alaska but I don't know if that'll happen. So I've put in for goat and sheep here, but I have like 1 point. And so I'm not even
Ever.
thinking that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so my secret plan, is to move back, and then where I don't have to have points and can hunt those. I have a moose point. I have a handful of elk points, some deer points, but the elk points I'm going to save and maybe at like 10 or so do a really good hunt with my dad, I think, and brother. And then other than that, I mean, the over the counter, you can get away, if you're archery, there are big bulls, in a lot of units. There are really nice bulls. And so I think it's kind of I don't know. There's a lot of good hunting. It doesn't have to be those trophy units.
Yeah.
And I'll gladly, put in the work and I think that's part of it. And so I'll just save up that and try to do a really cool hunt with my dad and brother at some point.
Yeah. I think I don't necessarily think it's the fault of the content, but content talks so much about point creep and putting in for points in premium areas that sometimes what gets overlooked is just the basic principle of, hey, go to a place with elk and just be willing to do a lot of work. But that said, there's also a lot of advertising for some of these areas that you can get or you can draw with fewer points. And so that might be just attracting people who just want any sort of experience, but that could be attracting a lot of the people who are willing to do a whole lot of work. And then, it seems like things are good now. There's a lot of opportunities, but it does make me worry about in 10 years what it's going to look like. Will there be any of those opportunities where for 1, 2, 3 points you can draw something, have an awesome experience, not get a trophy animal, but if that's not what you're looking for, it's fine. Like, is it going to be almost impossible to get any sort of experience? And I hope not, but the inner pessimist in me just wonders if that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because the amount of people that were out of state that I ran into. I mean, I ran into 2 other guys from Colorado. The rest were out of state, and they have no cap on over-the-counter out-of-state tags for archery elk. And so I know Idaho caps it every year. There's so many allotted, and I'm like, why does Colorado not do that? And kind of, we have a lot of elk, but like it gets swamped by out-of-state hunters here. Like, it's crazy. And why wouldn't you? You're guaranteed a tag. Yeah, it's $650, but you're guaranteed to hunt, and you're not going to not have a tag.
Yeah.
So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, you can like protect your residents and like prioritize them who are living here year round. Just like, I don't know, a lot of states do that. And so I hope that Colorado kind of prioritizes residents. I know there's a ton of money that goes into non-resident tags and in hunting and how much business they bring to areas. But I mean, the elk are getting pressured bad.
Yeah.
So
it can't be all about the money. At some point there's got to be, you got to take care of your own people. And that's, Alaska is a very fair way of doing it, where, you have to draw most of the tags, or a lot of the tags that people want to get. And there's no points, so it is fair. But it would be nice if you were to if there was a point system, then maybe Alaskans would have a better chance. But then if you put in a point system, then you're going to have all the problems that come with a point system. And all of a sudden it's not fair. And if you got in early, you're good to go. And then it just goes crazy. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could be my brother-in-law, and then I could go kill a goat with you or something.
That would be sweet. Yeah,
no, but
and that's you joke about stuff, but ultimately it's there's a lot of opportunities, and ideally it would be awesome to be able to figure out a way to how could I give myself a different advantage and get a dull sheep, or get a if I was able to figure out when to put in and have an unfair advantage, or pay a little bit more, or if I cracked a code, or if I knew someone, of course it'd be a temptation, but there isn't. So it's all just a ridiculous hypothetical. But I wonder what I would do if I did actually have that chance. And someone was like, dude, $200, you know, you're local, you put in your time, just $200, fine, and I'll give you a tag. Just don't tell anyone, but, you know, we appreciate it. If I'd be like, you know
Right.
what? Yeah, I do deserve this. Or if I'd be like, no, this is that moment, you're selling your soul, but
Right.
you
Right.
know, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well, what else you got, man? We're coming up on an hour here, and it's dinner time around there. You having
Yeah.
mule deer? You having whitetail, elk? What are you doing?
We're doing elk brats tonight. So
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, my dad killed an elk last year. So he killed one, but so we got some of those brats, but yeah, our freezers are pretty full now. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Because I even got a little elk meat from some of the clients that, you know, didn't want a certain part or whatever, and it's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So got a little bit of that too. So
Do you or did your dad have the elk brats made, or did you guys make them yourself?
he does it himself.
Nice.
So yeah, and I bought a brat kit, like a seasoning kit, that I'm gonna do some this year. I did 2 deer, you know, a couple weeks ago, but saved some of that stuff. I haven't got around to doing summer sausage and brats yet, but I'll do that probably coming up here pretty quick. Try to get everything processed, and you know, I haven't gotten to those deer yet either, but they're frozen. I some of the clients wanted European mounts, and they like priced out the taxidermy in town, and they said the price, and I was like, well, I'll do it for this much. And so I got a little business doing that too, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
Make a little extra cash on the side. So
There you go.
I've been doing a ton of that today and last 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, that would be a nice thing about having our own place and expanding a little bit, just to have, you know, maybe space for more pots to boil and put stuff together, or get some beetles or something, you know, just expand a little bit.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too. We're in a condo with a patio, and my neighbors probably hate me.
Oh,
So, like, who is this guy? He's got like 8 skulls out in the back, all this stuff, a power washer. Like, oh man, I got all my saws and tools, and like, we gotta move.
yeah.
We gotta move.
Yeah, I wouldn't move to Boulder if
No,
not so much.
no. We need to move, get some area, at least a regular side lot with a
Yeah,
carport or something.
yeah, a
But
little space. But
just a little bit of space. Yeah.
awesome. Well, man, it was great catching up with you. Excited to see the fish that you get. I do miss brown trout and and rainbow trout. Obviously, we have rainbow trout here in Steelhead, but you know, they're just different rivers, different water, different temperature, just the whole thing, man. It's all fun. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with this winter.
Yeah, it's good catching up, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, take care, man. Where can people find Tongass Talk and all that stuff? Or you can also put a little advertisement for the outfitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're at Tongass Talk on Instagram. You can listen on podcast or Apple Podcast, and I think Spotify, wherever you can search it. And then Lobo Outfitters they have a website if you just search that, and then they're also on Instagram. They're at Lobo Outfitters, and so they have a lot of good hunts, and they fill up quick. So they have a really good reputation. So if you're looking for an elk or deer hunt, you can check them out too.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Later.